Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. At the time of recording this video, Tesla stock is down about 3%. So we're going to go over your breaking news for Tesla specifically. We're going to talk about this market. One thing that I find very interesting, and my voice is kind of shoddy today. There's a game show on this cruise called Crazy Quest. And yeah, long story short, I had no shirt, no pants, in my underwear for the whole show. Yeah. So there's a lot of yelling going on. But nonetheless, the NASDAQ is down 1% today. What's interesting is the Russell 2000 is only down 0.42%. So on a relative basis, it's outperforming the NASDAQ by about 2x. Well, Tesla is pretty much in line with a lot of other Mag 7 stocks and more of your, not mid-cap, but larger cap kind of companies. So this is not an outsized, negative day for Tesla per se. It's really a bad day for the larger cap companies, and the Russell 2000 was having a really bad day, recovered quite a bit. We'll talk about what that could mean here in just a few moments. I will also point out that the VIX is up about 5.6% today, breaking above 20, which is a big kind of psychological level. You also have your fear indicators like the CNN Fear and Greed Index, percent of stocks above their 50-day moving average, just at really low levels. Like, you're pretty washed out in this market at this point. With that said, the work is cut out for us. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already, and check that link out down below in the description of today's episode. We have actually done some trimming in stocks that we are up on, that we don't have as much conviction on, and doubled down on the stocks that we have the most conviction on it. And I think that is the best way to navigate this market, especially when you're dealing with things that are so uncertain, like politics and the government. I mean, they are really good for nothing at this point. You can't even take a flight home, for an example. It's funny, on this cruise we were going to fly, good thing we didn't, because that's a whole disaster. But the first stop was Aruba after 3 days at sea. And somebody, a family, we're getting off the pier, we're walking into Aruba, and they're freaking got their suitcase, luggage, they're walking up the pier to get on the ship. They missed the flight because their flight was canceled or delayed, and had to fly to Aruba to get on the ship. Talk about a pain in a half right there. It's insane. So yeah, the government, when you're dealing with the government kind of controlling the sentiment in this market, it's kind of rough. Now, I do want to start with your broader market news today, because I think that is the biggest thing that is affecting Tesla stock, and you really need to hear what's happening in the markets first to understand why Tesla is behaving the way that it is behaving today. And by all means, I wouldn't count Tesla out at this point, okay? But it's the markets. It's this panic state that markets are in right now that is causing this problem in Tesla. But the fundamental news of yesterday, Elon's compensation package being approved, is massive. And it will come back to be a very big catalyst for Tesla stock. Okay, so here was one of the big stories today. And again, we were early on this channel to identify this problem, okay? The government shutdown, the economic data, and the uncertainty and fear that is coinciding with that. Okay, we were early to identify that on this channel as a cause for concern for this market, and it really started to shine today. It says here, shutdown means another missed jobs report. Here's what it probably would have shown. So all we have to go off of are the estimates from Wall Street. Okay, the jobs report may have been really good today. and alleviated some of the growth concerns or growth scare, recession concerns, but we don't have that data. So Wall Street is reacting to the estimates. And it says here, had the Bureau of Labor Statistics released its monthly non-farm payrolls report, economists surveyed by Dow Jones expect it would have shown a decline of 60,000 jobs and an unemployment rate increase to 4.5%. No wonder small caps and risk-on areas are getting absolutely decimated over the past month. These are the estimates for the jobs report. And, it probably would have been a lot better than that. Like, even if it was a negative number, it may have been like negative 20,000 or pretty close to break even, in my opinion. But that's the estimate we have to go off of. That's like deep recession shit right there. Like, that would not be a good number if we got that. Okay, now, it makes sense why Tesla's not doing very well today. And a lot of the other stocks that we invested. Now, the main headline on CNBC says consumer sentiment nears lowest level ever as worries build over the shutdown. It says here, worries over the government shutdown surged in the early part of November, pushing consumer sentiment into its lowest in more than 3 years and just off its worst level ever, according to a University of Michigan survey Friday. So if we actually go look at tradingeconomics.com/calendar, or just type in Google trading calendar, and you always want to keep one of these tabs open on your desk, on your computer, on your phone, whatever it is, so you can check and see what the data looks like on any given day. But you can see the headline number came in at 50.3. Last month you were at 53.6, and the estimate was 53.2. So you came in quite a bit lower than estimates. 5-year inflation expectations came down to 3.6% from 3.9%, so that's good. Consumer expectations came in at 49.0, missing estimates of 50.1, and lower than last month when it was at 50.3. Current conditions came in at 52.3 versus last month at 58.6. and expectations of 59.2. So we were actually expecting current conditions were going to get better from October to November. I don't know why that is. Probably a flaw in the survey, to say the least. But yeah, that did not happen. The numbers came in really bad. Michigan inflation expectations for the 1 year ahead period came in at 4.7%, higher than the estimate of 4.6%, and higher than last month's estimate of 4.6% as well. So just across the board, like, that didn't look great. Now, the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Survey is very political. There's only like 200 respondents, so it doesn't mean much. So really, we didn't get any kind of new solid information today. Just we didn't get information is the problem. We did not get the jobs report. That is a problem. And, some of these other headlines that we're going to look at as well in just a moment sound really bad. Like, there's one I put in the trading community specifically this morning that I was even like, oh my gosh, like, why are they saying this? Now, it was from Hassett today, that is the White House senior advisor. He says the shutdown hit the economy harder than expected. He said Friday that the government shutdown hurt the economy, quote, much worse than expected, and may have caused lasting damage to federal operations. He noted the impact will likely show up in fourth quarter GDP data, but maintained a positive outlook, forecasting up to 4% growth next year. Hassett also criticized the Federal Reserve for cutting rates by only 25 basis points, suggesting the central bank, quote, may have become partisan. President Donald Trump has repeatedly called for deeper rate cuts. So you got that headline today in the morning, and it was like, oh my gosh, like, why are they freaking saying that? Like, we're not getting economic data, and you hear that there could be lasting damage done to the economy, and yeah, you're going to get Wall Street that panics, especially when the expectation was a negative 60,000 jobs report. Like, some panic is going to happen with that shit storm like we had this morning. Now, also in the news today, USDA says it's working to comply with the judge's order to pay the full SNAP benefits. Now, Donald Trump said today that he's not worried about an AI bubble. So, we did and are starting to get quite a bounce into the end of the day. And partially it probably has to do with this comment. Trump's not super concerned about the state of the markets. Like any other time that, Trump didn't like what the markets were doing, he would just, put out a post and, say to buy stocks. Well, he's saying AI is not in a bubble. And even though that doesn't really mean much, it is comforting to Wall Street to hear that. Canada's Prime Minister Carney says that I expect talks with the U.S. on trade will resume at some point. Donald Trump has just said today that inflation is at a perfect number. Trump says he doesn't know how long the shutdown will last. And Trump says it's up to Democrats how long the shutdown will last. Rating says today the U.S.'s fiscal challenges may limit its ability to provide meaningful counter-cyclical support to states and municipalities during a downturn. Basically what that means is if you were to have like another 08 again, or some kind of large, recession, you may not be able to see as many government bailouts as we've seen in prior recessions. Long story short is what that means. Now, Senate Republican leader Thune says there's a possible vote on a bill to pay some federal workers today. This was what really started the market's recovery. Okay, this was the big, I guess, reversal factor of the day today from what I can see. Now, I'm sure there's someone out there, market makers or whatnot, that bought this market into the end of the day that maybe know something. Like maybe we could get news over this weekend, and that's why we rallied aggressively from the lows. But this was the specific headline that turned this market around. Again, you're down a lot in like the last month for most stocks, AI, small caps, you get it, mid caps. But this is what caused the recovery today. American Airlines CEO said today that he warns flight reductions could become problematic as carrier manages a 4% cut, 12,000 passengers affected by Friday's FAA mandated cancellations. Now, also this morning, Senate Majority Leader John Thune plans to put forward a plan to end the shutdown. Now, Senate Democrats to lay out a proposal to end the shutdown, proposing to extend ACA subsidies for 1 year. This is probably when the shutdown ends, okay? Because from a Republican perspective, this is like a Republican political perspective. Not, I'm not going to speak for Republicans out there, but from a politics perspective, you know who's going to be blamed for food stamps not being paid or that people cannot get their flights, okay? It's going to be Trump. It's going to be Republicans. That's who's going to get blamed. People always blame the president or the current administration. That's just how it is, no matter if they're right or wrong. So, from a political perspective, it makes sense for Republicans to cave a little bit, at least to get the situation over with. It's like, they're not going to win politically at this point. The backlash is already going to come and be on Republicans from, most people that don't understand what's going on right now. CNN Fear and Greed Index today hit a low of 17. It's currently sitting at 18. So even after, a little bit of the recovery towards the end of the day, you're still sitting in extreme fear. Like people are retail investors especially are pretty washed out. And A lot of them have got margin called. A lot of them have been forced to sell. A lot of them have long sold positions. And, that's typically when markets start to bottom. When you start to feel like, oh my gosh, this is never going to end. When you're starting to get really scared, like I've heard from a lot of retail investors lately, is when things typically are about to get much better. Okay, that is what you call capitulation. And that has happened. Market momentum is in fear, stock price strength, extreme fear, stock price breadth, extreme fear, put and call options, extreme fear, market volatility is fear, safe haven demand, extreme fear, and junk bond demand in extreme fear. All of these categories are in extreme fear besides market momentum, which is probably pretty close to being in extreme fear, and market volatility, which is probably, again, pretty close to being in extreme fear with the VIX above 20 today. So yeah, like people are pretty nervous. Now, the Fed rate monitor tool is still pricing in a rate cut for December 10th with a probability of 64.4%. The odds are actually rising today as the odds of getting the government shutdown resolved are rising as well. Percent of stocks trading above their 50-day moving average coming in today at 34.72%. That's a really rough number, okay? That's down in the lower kind of area we've been in the last 5 years. Like this is correction type, negative price action. I'll call it. When 34% of stocks are above their 50-day moving average and 65% of stocks are below their 50-day moving average, that is far from a healthy bull market. But we'll see. Now, let's go ahead and get into all of your Tesla stock breaking news today. Tesla stock, I will say from a technical perspective, you came down and you bounced pretty much exactly at the 50-day moving average. It was almost picture perfect. You bounced today. The low of the day was $421.88. Tesla stock bounced at $421.12. So you bounced almost exactly at that level, which is pretty fascinating. Okay, and I do think you get this government open and we start to get some of the economic data. I think it's going to show that the economy is probably a lot better than most people think. It's probably not as bad as the estimates were today for the jobs report, and that's going to really fuel this year-end rally that I still think is coming. And Tesla stock, following the approval of Elon Musk's compensation package, is likely going to explode higher as well. In option activity today for Tesla, you had 267 different trades totaling $160.4 million with a positive order value of 67%. So more positive than negative, kind of a slower day, which is not a huge surprise. As far as short sellers are shorting about 112,000 shares of Tesla today, which is not really a crazy number, considering the stock is down 2 to 3% at the time of recording this video, down about 2.25%. This headline that just came out says Democratic U.S. Senator Schumer's aide says Democrats are proposing to reopen the government with a clean CR and bipartisan minibus. So, that's what is fueling this end of the day rally. Let's get into more of your Tesla stock breaking news. Elon Musk said shortly after the shareholder meeting last night, quote, "It's time to pull a lot of rabbits out of the hat." So suggesting that there's going to be some big developments at Tesla in the coming months. Tesla also revealed at their shareholder meeting last night that Tesla's revolutionary unbox manufacturing process will allow a Cybercab to roll off the production line in under 10 seconds versus 34 seconds today for the Model Y. And there was a lot of new information that was presented to shareholders at the shareholder meeting last night with, again, Cybercab production starting April of 2026, a new Tesla semi-design. Tesla might build a chip fabrication facility of their own, with robotaxi service rolling out next in Miami, Dallas, Phoenix, and Las Vegas. There was AI 5 chip info. They shareholders at the meeting got a first look at Tesla's new lithium refinery. The Roadster unveil will happen on April 1st, 2026, which is my birthday, with production starting 12 to 18 months after that. And the first FSD regulatory approval in Europe is expected in Q1 2026. With an Optimus production line sneak peek, which is pretty cool. Now, Elon Musk said, quote, "I'd like to thank Waymo for paving the regulatory path. I think Tesla will be able to deploy all the cybercabs that we produce," which is, something I talk about often on this channel is, hey, if Waymo gets approved in Tokyo or, Paris or other cities in America, that's actually a really good thing for Tesla, because it makes it easier for Tesla to also get approval and therefore after start operations in those cities or even other cities. So yeah, that was interesting to hear from Elon. Now, we are going to talk about what all of this means for Tesla in relation to Elon's comp package being approved, and if the government reopens tomorrow or over this weekend, how that's going to also impact Tesla. This has been the biggest driving factor of this market, is this government shutdown, and getting the government funded is going to be a massive deal. It's going to be huge. It's really going to send stocks, I believe, into an end of the year rally, but due to time's sake, we're going to have to save all of that for the next video coming out at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. In the process, in the meantime, hit the like button as well as subscribe to the channel if you guys want to come join the trading community. Check that link out down below in the description of today's episode. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.